So it's like doing a jigsaw. Every little bit gives you another insight into what was going on. And I think I've pretty well got to the end of all the insights. Now, Calanais village, which is where the main site is, which gets visited by many people, has extensive moors round it where there are more standing stones, and even on the nearby islands there are also standing stones. One of these islands is Great Bernera, and at an early stage in our studies we dismissed Great Bernera because it wasn't part of Calanais, but that was a terrible mistake. We shouldn't have done that. COVID has given me time to think about all this and turn it over in my mind and come to different ways of regarding the data. Having now included the island of Great Bernera, I realised that that was intrinsic to the whole complex. It's quite a big complex, and I may be jumping the gun by saying this now because I haven't finished writing it up, but from the far corner of an island called Great Bernera through Calanais and on to Achmore, where there's towers on Eichel for telephones, etc. This is one huge layout, and they all make sense with each other. They all use different sets of hills. From the main site you see Sleeping Beauty, who looks like a woman lying on her back. From the next site at Bernera Bridge you get a view of a different set of hills, which some people see as an Egyptian pharaoh, or possibly a corpse ready for burying. The next site along at the far corner of Great Bernera is possibly the last site in the sequence, and all these sites are joined together by a route which has very large tall stones marking the way. Some of them have quartz on one side so that you can see the distant stone in dim light. Is this right? It's even possible that the different sites, starting at Achmore with moonrise, represent the life of a person. At the Achmore circle, which is the furthest east, so you get the first moonrise connecting with the hills there, and the moon doesn't actually set into Sleeping Beauty's head, it sets into her pregnant belly. There, the tallest stone of the circle, most of which has been flattened, marks the route. The next mark on the route is near the towers on Eichel, a mountain by Achmore. Up there is a gigantic black stone. In early pictures it used to be surrounded by peat, but the peat seems to have slipped away from it down the hill, exposing it a lot better. From Achmore circle you see this stone, or if you're going in the other direction, from the stone you see where Achmore is. Going across the moors, there's one or two probable sites, a little bit more visits visiting them is required. There is at site 10, which is much nearer Calanais, that circle, also knocked over, is in very shallow peat, so it has 2 layers of packing stone, and the most northerly stone has white quartz on the outer side, which marks the route onward as seen from beyond. The next site the nearest next site, site 3, which I can see over to the east, that has a mixture of stones. There's a nice triangular one, and it seems there that the stones might well, one represent the mother, one represent the maiden, one represent the old woman, and there's a very phallic stone in the middle of that group. Here at site 2, if this idea of the stones representing stages of life, site 2 has again got a triangular stone like the little maiden one over there, but it's much bigger. Possibly this represents the adult woman. 1 or 2 of the stones here have been knocked down, so we can't be sure about all of them. Over to the main site isn't far, but the next one marked by a big stone might be a recently recognised site by a friend of mine just across the water. I haven't got to it yet. The next site in this is on Great Burner itself. It may be where there's been a church replacing it some years back, which is by quite a nice harbour. Move into Great Burner, and site 15 is another gigantic stone lying down, knocked over, and bits were broken off it to tuck under a fence wire. But from there you can see site 8, the Burner Bridge site. Burner Bridge at the moment is being replaced by a new one because apparently it was dangerous. The bridge was built in, I think, the 50s, opened by one of the royal family. From site 8, you can't quite see the far corner of Great Burner. So how do you get to that one? Well, across the water from site 8, there is a small stone on the opposite side of the water, and that stone, if you get to that, you can see site 8 and the corner of Great Burner. It used to be by a curved bit of road. The council built a straight cutting through with a straight road and moved the stone. Luckily, my husband and I were able to get it moved and stood up, and we used rollers, etc., to put it into place and put the packers down to hold it in the hole. It does seem to be being protected at the moment by the new bridge works. I don't even know how long the new bridge is going to take to be built, so if you want to come and see all this, get in your vehicle. You carry on higher from site 8 along the south shore of Great Bernera, where there are quite a number of small burial cairns. You carry on until you get to the very corner of Great Bernera, which is a rocky, stony, hilly area. And if you're driving, it's a very long, twisty journey to get there. But down on the shore there is a burial, a chambered cairn, I believe. I haven't been there for years. And just off the shore there is Leach nan Cuddigan, little cuddies on the island, fish round the island, and there's also some stone structures on that tiny little island. So all the way from this corner of Great Bernera back to Achmore is about 35 kilometres, which is quite astounding. Now you may think that I'm talking rubbish, that's fair enough, but come and look at it for yourself. I had nearly all the data for this in my original surveys, but it's only the COVID really has allowed me to rethink it all and come to this conclusion. Now the Bernera bridges, where Site 8 is where the tides meet. The tides come in from the northwest to Great Bernera, which is more or less triangular, and one tide is split and goes down the west coast of Great Bernera. The other tide is split and goes down the east coast of Great Bernera. And when they get to the two corners, they turn and head for each other. And when they do meet, they meet just below Site 8. And the bridge. There's quite a marked change in the depth of water there. So whether the churning of the tides when they meet has eroded a hole, I don't know. You never know what goodies might be found at the bottom there. There's even been a pod of dolphins caught there at one stage. And sometimes seals come by and look at one surveying round there. So where Site 8 stands, looking over these waters, where the tides more or less meet depending on the prevailing wind, may have been quite important to the people. I could go on about this for ages. I do recommend that you come up to North Lewis and see this for yourself. It hasn't been mentioned for many years. Have you heard of Diodorus of Sicily? Yes. 55 BC. Have you read his stuff? He was describing this place. Whether he sent tourists there or not, I don't know. But that's the reputation it had in about 55 BC. So whether he came up here himself, I'm not sure. But I feel proud to have linked back to that time. And you don't have to believe me, but come and see it for yourself, and I think you will. All right, thank you.